Yo, what is up guys? Frankie here. How's it going? Today I wanted to jump in here because I've got a lot to share and I was like, holy fuck man, you need to stop, holding this back and actually from sharing it from two people, And this week I was just dwelling upon a few things. One of them was specifically I saw this speech, this talk, this lecture by Alan Watts, and I was like, holy shit, I love this topic. I'm gonna give my take on it, right? So the topic of this lecture was pretty much how you try to mask suffering with pleasure, and how seeking pleasure is it's a trap, man. How it's not really fulfilling, how it's a never-ending cycle, how it actually affects your everyday actions, doesn't let you see your life in a long-term vision. So diving deep into these specific ideas, I do want to break apart and kind of articulate, how looking just for pleasure, or basing your life off of pleasure, or mistaking pleasure by happiness is actually getting you confused and is actually making you see things in a day-by-day manner instead of having a longer vision of how things can actually turn out. Okay, I actually have my laundry in the back. I'm sitting here, there's a fucking beautiful sunset, man. I had to actually take this time of day because of the light. I love it. Looks amazing. They call it the golden hour, right? So man, the never-ending cycle of pleasure, what can I tell you? Everybody has different tendencies to go towards different things. It can be either, fapping, I don't want to say the word, masturbation, whatever, pornography, whatever. I said it. Another thing may be food. Another thing may be even seeing yourself as a personality, an ego. Seeking validation through your ego is a form of pleasure. It's a form of trying to engulf or indulge yourself in pleasure, right? So a lot of people don't want to actually count that as pleasure-seeking triggers, but it actually is. So you become kind of addicted to a specific persona that you think that you are, and by persona I mean a specific way of being, as in like, bro, you're pretty much following the same blueprint of behavior that you were following when you were out of high school. Like, holy fuck, bro. Like, you gotta evolve. You gotta actually look within yourself to kind of like recreate how you see yourself, right? You can't look at yourself when you're 25 the way that you used to look at yourself when you're 18. That actually naturally happens throughout your life, but what happens is that sometimes, man, there's really old people that are like 50 years old and kind of just kept a mentality of like being, I don't know, 18, 20, 25 years old, and maybe even less, man. Some people are not even emotionally, developed to even get to different stages of their mind, of their brain, and all of this is because they never really get to attack the suffering specifically. It's always about masking. It's always about getting to that other place, trying to achieve this, trying to buy this new thing, trying to talk to this person, trying to befriend this person, trying to get around this group of people, trying to, make everything perfect. Kind of, oh, I need to buy this drink for me to feel good. I need to go out and do this. We're always seeking pleasure. We're always seeking something that stimulates us. At least most people are. And the way that we actually interact with reality nowadays is super crazy. I know the dopamine, dopamine fasting and all of those type of topics are rising a lot in like productivity. YouTube channels such as Matt Diavella, such as, Captain Sinbad, all of these guys. But Andrew Kirby, all of these guys. So it is actually very part of us now in the way that we live the modern world, right? So man, seeking pleasure in itself is, like I said, a cycle. I've been stuck on it for a long time. It's crazy. The first thing that you need to do to get out of this cycle is to be aware of it. Definitely. So even if it takes you fucking years, man, like 5 years to get out of it, first step that you need to do is to be aware of it. Be aware of it. Because if you're not aware of it, it's like a fish swimming in water. Like, it doesn't know that it's in water. So you got to be aware that you're in water so you can get out of water and see that, oh shit, there's something outside of this, right? And the outside of this perspective is actually not outside, it's inside, right? And diving deep into yourself, actually self-inquiring and questioning why the fuck am I following this path? Why the fuck am I indulging in so much pleasure? Why the fuck, who am I feeding? What am I trying to stimulate? What am I trying to get away from, right? You gotta ask yourself these hard questions. And pleasure in itself is beautiful, man, but it's not to be mistaken for happiness, you know? Happiness in itself is a state of being, is a choice. It is not a destination, right? It's not where you're trying to get to. You choose to be happy, and the way that you're happy, and one of the biggest things that I've learned across my journey really is understanding, you know, literally the anatomy of the mind, man. Because it always goes back to this, it always stems back from this, because the way that you see yourself, the way that you see your mind, the way that you use your mind kind of creates the way that you see the world, right? So by changing your mind, changing your thoughts, beliefs, is already changing the way that you perceive reality. I'm seeing the sunset, man. It looks fucking beautiful. So it always goes back into this, man. It's realizing who the fuck you are, what the fuck you're feeding. I wish that I didn't swear this much, honestly, but it's just so part of me. Fuck it, like, let's just get it out there. But you gotta recognize where you're coming from. You gotta recognize what you're feeding, and you also gotta recognize, you know, how your mind is constructed. So one of the things that I do, one of the practices that I do a lot is sit down on a quiet spot, and then I actually start talking to myself as if I was another person. So actually asking myself questions as if I was another person. So, what's up, Frankie? How you doing today, man? Like, I know you weren't completely, you know, on top of your game on that sales call. What happened? You know, I know you weren't on top of your game while editing that video, man. What happened? I know you weren't on top of your game when you were talking to this person, closing this deal, talking to your parents. What happened? Why? What's going on, man? And then actually asking yourself, man, like, we think that by going for a walk sometimes we're giving ourselves time to be with ourselves. It is true, you know, you're going for a walk, you are having alone time, but to be honest with you, none of those things are alone time. Not going for a walk, not running, nothing like that. Having alone time is actually fucking sitting down, being alone, and being with yourself, talking to yourself, interacting with yourself, trying to get you to know yourself in and out. You know, once you start doing this, the way that you relate to the world will actually change. The way that you seek pleasure will actually change. So what I'm trying to get to is that we seek pleasure because of the persona that we follow, the persona that we think that we are. I know it's a little bit advanced. I'm going to start breaking it down in more of my talks, more of these type of videos. And so, for example, I'll give you an example. If, let's say, I have a very athletic persona. So I grew up being somebody that likes sports. My parents put me in teams. I always, you know, worked with different people. I was always a team player. I'm very social. I have very good athletic abilities. And the way that I perceive myself is as being an athlete, right? So for me, the way that I indulge in pleasure might be very different than the way that somebody that never did sports in their life indulges in pleasure. Maybe the other person plays video games, and so that's their way of indulging in pleasure, right? And so the way to change what you are, you know, seeking, what type of pleasure you're seeking, it has to do, and it stems out of your persona. So break down your persona, choose whoever the fuck you want to be, recreate this story inside of your head of who you want to be, man, and just, man, go towards your goal. Just get it out there, shoot it. I'm not trying for this to be perfect. I'm just, you know, sharing this with y'all, and actually I hope you guys enjoy, you know, sitting down with me. I'll try to introduce more things. I'm actually a very visual person, so this is gonna look very beautiful later on. But as of now, man, I'll leave you guys. Sun is setting. Frankie here. I'm in Calexico, California, guys. Enjoy. Take it easy. Peace.